Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Interesting topic that we have today, and I feel it's going to resonate with many of us, and that is those who please others. You're a people pleaser. You just want everybody to be happy. Why do we do that? And wait for it, this is a pinnacle moment here. How is that connected to a narcissist in your life? I'm intrigued to learn more about this. It's actually part of a book that this gentleman has written. And by the way, he's a licensed registered therapist. He knows this stuff for the better part of 2 decades. And it's going to be very informative, very insightful today. Jim Butler joins us on the program. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here. This is something, the people-pleasing thing, I can personally relate to it. I feel I still am in some regards, but I've let a lot of that go. And there are many reasons why many of us are people pleasers. Before we go to the narcissist part of this topic, why do we turn into people pleasers? What are some of the reasons? And I'm sure it connects to our past.
You're absolutely right, Steve. I've been in practice for a long time, so I've had the privilege of working with a lot of people pleasers. And what people pleasing is an insecure attachment, and that stems generally from childhood trauma. So as children, if they didn't receive enough love or attention, often they had to learn to kind of please or get the approval of a parent or parents. And so it's an early kind of thing that we learn in order to get love or receive love and attention or external approval. And so it starts very young. But the interesting thing about pleasing is it doesn't turn off when we hit 20. It's very much alive and kicking. And where it really comes out most from a therapist point of view is in our romantic relationships, because that's where our insecurities are ignited.
Interesting. And yeah, I totally connect the dots in terms of what you're saying in our childhood. And is it true that most of us, in some regards, walk around feeling that we're not good enough? There's something in some shape, way, and form. Everyone pretty much has that within them. Would you say that's true?
I would 100%. I don't think it's something that people are comfortable talking about all the time or sharing with other people. Yes, at the core of pleasing is negative belief systems, which are low self-esteem. And, we can think, we're not good enough, we're unwantable, we're unlovable, we don't deserve to be loved. I think it's fair to say a lot of people have those beliefs or insecurities. And so a lot of people come to counseling ultimately with relationship issues. They're pleasers. And then, we have to try and work through those relationship issues, because what a pleaser is doing is repressing their wants, their needs, and their feelings to get the love and approval of their partner.
See, I didn't look at it that way. So I want to go back to that. The pleasers are repressing those feelings. I would think it would be the other way around, that they're making up for feeling not good enough by providing more value. Let me take care of that. Let me take care of that. Or let's say you have some friends, I can do that for you. I got tickets to the show. You want to go? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. That's what they're doing. So they're basically, because they can't tolerate rejection, they have deep abandonment issues. And because of those deep abandonment issues, they have no boundaries. So they're not going to say no. They're not going to say, yeah, that doesn't work for me. They're not going to risk rejection or abandonment or conflict. They're very anger is a tough emotion for them to deal with. And so we want to avoid any risk of conflict, any risk of disappointing somebody else. And so that's where they'll go, well, I don't want to do that, but I'll go help you move on Saturday, even though I'd rather be doing something else. And that's compromising yourself. That's That's behavioral accommodation, which is a form of manipulation, believe it or not, because I'm not being true to myself.
Are you manipulating yourself in some regards there to please somebody else?
Yeah, in a sense, because you're not being true to yourself, right? You're going, I don't want to go help this person move, but
Yep.
I'm afraid that my friend, will reject me
Right.
or mad at me, or so I better go do it. And then you end up resenting yourself
Mm.
and possibly your friend because you end up compromising yourself. You didn't want to do that in the first place.
Right. You say to yourself, why did I do that? I was just, now I'm tired. I had other things to do. But deep in your mind, you're saying to yourself, I want to make sure they're still there. I want to make sure my friend is still my friend. Maybe I want to make sure they're there when I need them. So you
Right?
provide that value. Wow.
Absolutely.
Mm. So now that we've established people pleasers, some of the reasons why we go above and beyond and compromise ourselves, this is the part I'm foggy on. All ears at this point, and very much so. The connection to a narcissist. Tell us.
Okay. Well, this is the interesting piece, and it's kind of what was so fascinating over the years as I did therapy. I kept seeing, pleasers with insecure attachment styles, often coming in with avoidant attachment styles, which is more on the narcissistic spectrum. And I noticed that they always attract. And so both of them come from childhood trauma. So both of them, same issues, didn't have enough love or attention or were neglected or abused in some way. And
Mm.
so both are very insecure in romantic relationships. And so only the insecurities differ. So on the pleaser's side, if you look at how a trauma bond is formed, the relationship starts with both of them are terrified of rejection. So on one side, the narcissist is going, you have to earn my love, you have to earn my trust, you have to earn this. And on the other side, a pleaser's going, well, something's wrong with me, so I will do whatever you want, just don't abandon me. And
Mm.
so this trauma bond starts with, you know, there is some control on the narcissist side, but the pleaser doesn't say, hey, no, I don't want to do that because they're afraid of rejection. So they repress their wants and needs and just do what the narcissist wants to do. But as time goes on, the pleaser is constantly repressing their wants and needs, and so they become exhausted.
Mm.
That's where that's where things start to get ugly in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, and there the cycle begins because the people pleaser is they can feel resentful that I'm doing all of this for you. Look at it, and then there's no validation coming from the narcissist because the narcissist is like, "You bringing it on, man. Keep more and more and more."
100%.
Mm.
100%. And so when the pleaser then in the trauma bond gets exhausted, what happens is they go, hey, this is how they think. They're going, I'm giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, but I'm not getting anything back.
Right.
So they're exhausted. And so then they in a lot of fear attempt to talk to the narcissist and say, hey, I'm kind of feeling exhausted, I need some time alone, because you got to remember narcissists are very needy. So they want to dominate you, they want to be with you all the time, they're jealous when you're away from them, and so they're always kind of wanting you around them. And so pleasers kind of need some space. They want some time alone. They want to recharge. So when the pleaser then says, hey, I need some time away, or I want to just do my own thing, or I want to go hang out with a friend, or I want something back, the narcissist goes, nope, you're changing the rules on me. This
Mm.
isn't who you are anymore. I want you to be the person that I know, which was this subservient person that did whatever I want. And so
Mm.
that's when the abuse starts to escalate, which is the control and the manipulation. And then the narcissist might say something like, you're changing the rules, you're mean, you're not taking care of me anymore, you're a horrible partner. And then that ignites the fear of abandonment in the pleaser. And so, it just keeps kind of starting to go round and round. And then, of course, the pleaser doesn't have boundaries. So, it just kind of turns into unresolved conflict at that point.
Wow. This could be going on in somebody's relationship right now, and they might not even realize it. Especially somebody might not even realize that they're a people pleaser. They might think, I like that. I want to keep everybody happy. How many times have we all said that? But to what degree do we go to do that? So the narcissist is what they are based on similar reasons, childhood trauma, typically?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And the fundamental core issue of a narcissist is they will never take responsibility. So in their minds, they're never wrong, right? So they're really full of self-loathing and self-hatred, which isn't apparent because they hide behind a mask or a persona of grandiosity or perfection or, flawlessness. And so they are deep down extremely insecure. So whenever the pleaser or the partner confronts them, they flip the script, turn the tables, and that's not true, that didn't happen, you're the problem, you're a horrible person. And the manipulation just starts to ramp up in the course of a relationship. And so what happens often with men in these types of relationships, because the female narcissist is so insecure, just like male narcissists are insecure, but when the man tries to go hang out with friends or something of that nature, he can come home and she's feeling threatened and jealous. Why doesn't he want to be with me? And then, she creates a story in her mind and then often accuses him of cheating. So now he's being accused of cheating when he's not. Now, instead of going, hey, you know what? No, I'm not. I don't appreciate the accusation. If you continue to do that, this probably isn't going to work. A pleaser doesn't have that level of self-esteem. So now the pleaser goes into trying to convince the narcissist that, no, I wasn't doing anything. I was with these two friends. No, I'm not. The narcissist has trust issues, so she trusts nobody. So she doesn't believe him. And so the pleaser continues to try and convince the narcissist. The narcissist continues to, I don't believe you, you're cheating on me. And then what the pleaser will do is compromise himself again. So, okay, I got to get your approval. So I'll just stay at home now and I won't hang out with my friends. And so they start to lose themselves in the relationship. They start to compromise themselves.
Oh, and there's the plane heading down, ready to crash, because it's just I don't want to use the cliche, but it perfectly fits the vicious cycle of what's going on here. And it never ends until it ends. I guess.
Well, 100%. And so you're right on, Steve. And so what happens then is, people come into therapy and they're in this vicious cycle or trauma bond, and both are terrified of abandonment. So they're going, oh, geez, I can't separate, I can't leave. And pleasers keep thinking they can get the approval or earn the love of their narcissistic partner by accommodating themselves, by pleasing, by trying harder, by doing more. And they never can, because a narcissist is an empty cup, a bottomless well of need that can never be satisfied.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And so the pleaser keeps losing themselves, if that makes any sense. And so what happens is, what I'm trying to say in my book is, narcissistic relationships are not sustainable. They're not fixable. They're not salvageable. Not only that, they're dangerous. They're debilitating to the mental health quite frankly, of both parties, but in this context, specifically the pleaser.
So I'm not condoning anything here.
Yeah,
However, if you look at both parties, pleaser, narcissist, they both have traumas that have not been dealt with from their childhood. So in that regard, loosely put, they're kind of equal. They both have issues.
yeah,
But it seems that, the intent of the people pleaser is a good one, albeit they compromise themselves. And it just looks like the narcissist sees that and pounces on it and keeps pouncing on it till there's
yeah,
nothing really left.
till there's nothing left. And
Wow.
often what will happen is, ironically, the narcissist, you know, just hates the partner for submitting and yet requires submission. And so what'll happen is
Mm,
one of two things. The relationship will implode. So the narcissist will discard the pleaser. And what I'm trying to say to pleasers is don't wait for that. Because because if you have children together, what happens with often with female narcissists is because they can't handle abandonment and rejection, they go into a revenge campaign, even if they end the relationship, even if they end the relationship. And so if there's children involved, oftentimes female narcissists will withhold the children. So, and these aren't, deadbeat dads. These are emotionally available fathers. And so now, separation happens. The men have to lawyer up to get custody of their children. And, they're great fathers to begin with. Plus, these narcissistic women are trying to destroy these men. So they're making false allegations and accusations that, you know, you've abused the children, or you abused me, or you're neglectful, or you're an incompetent father.
mm.
So they're actually manipulating the court system, or attempting to,
Oh,
against the father as well. So now you've got that double whammy. So a lot of men, by the time they get out, they're already beat up, and now they've got to go through the revenge campaign
mm.
to get custody of their children. So even when they're out, they're not out until they get custody, and still have to set some firm boundaries.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. Don't want to run out of time. I'm going to get to the book in a moment. Um, but in a people pleasing relationship, you have a people pleaser. One is there always a narcissist, or usually a narcissist connected to that?
It's generally somebody on the opposite side of the spectrum, which is somebody on the narcissistic spectrum. And it's interesting because I've often thought, well, why do they always attract? And it's interesting because, again, we've talked about the trauma issues that are unresolved.
Mm,
But, one's kind of thinking, I'm never wrong on one level, the narcissist. And the pleaser has a thinking pattern from trauma. Whenever there's conflict, they automatically assume something's wrong with me. Maybe I did do something wrong. And so one's not taking responsibility, and one's kind of taking too much responsibility.
gotcha.
And so both the pleaser has to learn to, just because there's conflict doesn't mean I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I need to learn how to set and hold some boundaries here, is ultimately what they need to learn, and to not compromise themselves or accommodate the narcissist behavior.
Deep challenge. And from your book, is that techniques that can be learned if you are a people pleaser and you're in a relationship with somebody who you believe to be as a narcissist?
Well, 100%, but there's the steps they have to learn are, okay, I got to admit to myself I'm in an abusive relationship. That's difficult. Then they've got to decide to no longer compromise themselves. Then they've got to kind of start to disengage. They tend to like to engage, so disengage. And then ultimately plan, ideally with a therapist,
Yeah.
or, to get out of this relationship quietly. So
Yeah.
they can't, you know what I mean?
and let go. And how hard is that? I'm sure it's probably one of the toughest things, because you've got roots, you've got children, whatever it might be. You know it's not right, but it's I'm going to stick with it for the sake of the kids. But meanwhile, the sake of yourself, what you've lost along the way. Wow, never ever viewed this situation and dynamics in a relationship, and I bet you a lot of people are hearing and watching this thinking, "My gosh, that's me." That's.
Or they know a narcissist and a pleaser, right? It's not uncommon.
Right.
Absolutely.
My gosh. Name of the book, tell us, please.
The name of the book is Releasing Your Need to Please, Escaping Romantic Relationships with Narcissistic Women. So it's written for men who are being emotionally abused, who feel trapped or stuck in a toxic relationship. And I'm giving them the skills and the tools how to get out.
And you said something there very impactful and goes against what many of us believe or led to believe, that women are not narcissists. Usually it's always the man that the finger points at. We never talk about a female narcissist.
It hasn't been a popular concept, but over the years, I've seen more and more men coming into therapy in narcissistic relationships. I think in their personal lives, everybody knows somebody, a man who's in a narcissistic relationship with a female. So it's still a little bit of a controversial subject, but I think there's more and more people, certainly on social media and stuff, talking about female narcissism.
Absolutely. And I don't even think it should be controversial. It's maybe perceived that way because nobody talks about it. It's a reality. It's happening. Even if you didn't have an example of it, it's happening. There's not a gene in a man that says the only men can be a narcissist. Absolutely not. And
Absolutely.
To your point before, where in that relationship, that woman probably looks at the pleaser man and says, be a man. You're not even masculine. Come on. Meanwhile, that female narcissist loves that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating concept. It really is. And I think that's really what my passion is, Steve, and it has been for a lot of years, is helping people, men and women, okay, out of narcissistic or toxic relationships. And they're more common than you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like you just said, if you're not in one, we're probably looking in our minds of, oh, wait, that's my brother, or wait, that's my friend. And yeah, his wife's a little bit pushy, and it's there. Releasing Your Need to Please. It's on Amazon. We can also find it on your website. Jim, what's your website? How do we find you there?
Website is www.acacounseling.ca. And people, if they were looking for any consultation, can also email me at jim@acacounseling.ca.
Excellent. Great having you here. What a fascinating topic. I never in a million years would make that connection, but it's starting to come clear when you start thinking about the dynamics within a relationship. Truly appreciate you being here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, onlineradiobox, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.